Hello, this is Morel Bernard with the continuation of the detective tale, Dr. Fu Manchu. Last words were the cab moved off with a metallic jerk, and I turned and looked back through the little window in the rear. Someone has got into another cab. It is following us, I think. And by the way, please subscribe to the channel and please share the video. So I will proceed. Nayland Smith lay back and laughed unmirthfully. "Petrie," he said, "if I escape alive from this business, I shall know that I bear a charmed life." I made no reply, as he pulled out the dilapidated pouch and filled his pipe. "You've asked me to explain matters," he continued, "and I will do so to the best of my ability. You no doubt wonder why a servant of the British government, lately stationed in Burma, suddenly appears in London in the character of a detective. I am here, Petrie, and I bear credentials from the very highest sources because, quite by accident, I came upon a clue. Following up in the ordinary course of routine, I obtain evidence of the existence and malignant activity of a certain man. At the present stage of the case, I should not be justified in terming him the emissary of an Eastern power. But I may say that representations are shortly to be made to that power's ambassador in London." He paused and glanced back towards the pursuing cab. "There is little to fear until we arrive home," he said calmly. "Afterwards, there is much. Anyway, to continue. This man, whether a fanatic or a duly appointed agent, is unquestionably the most malign and formidable personality existing in the known world today. He is a linguist who speaks with almost equal facility in any of the civilized languages and in most of the barbaric. He is an adept in all the arts and sciences which a great university could teach him. He is also an adept in certain obscure arts and sciences which no university of today can teach. He has the brains of any three men of genius. Petrie, he's a mental giant." "You amaze me," I said. "As to his mission among men, why did M. Jules Furneaux fall dead in a Paris opera house? Because of heart failure? No. Because his last speech had shown that he held the key to the secret of Tonkin. What became of the Grand Duke Stanislas? Elopement? Suicide? Nothing of the kind. He alone was fully alive to Russia's growing peril. He alone knew the truth about Mongolia. Why was Sir Crichton Davey murdered? Because had the work he was engaged upon ever seen the light, it would have shown him to be the only living Englishman who understood the importance of the Tibetan frontiers. I say to you solemnly, Petrie, that these are but a few. Is there a man who would arouse the West to a sense of the awakening of the East, who would teach the deaf to hear, the blind to see, that the millions only await their leader? He will die And this is only one phase of the devilish campaign. The others I can merely surmise. But Smith, this is almost incredible. What perverted genius controls this awful secret movement? Imagine a person, tall, lean, feline, high-shouldered, with a brow like Shakespeare and a face like Satan, a close-shaven skull and long, magnetic eyes of the true cat green. Invest him with all the cruel cunning of an Eastern race, accumulated in one giant intellect, with all the resources of science, past and present, with all the resources, if you will, of a wealthy government, which, however, already has denied all knowledge of his existence. Imagine that awful being, and you have a mental picture of Dr. Fu Manchu, the yellow peril incarnate in one man. I sank into an armchair in my rooms and gulped down a strong peg of brandy. "We have been followed here," I said. "Why did you make no attempt to throw the pursuers off the track, to have them intercepted?" Smith laughed. "Useless, in the first place. Wherever we went, he would find us. And of what use to arrest his creatures? We could prove nothing against them. Further, it is evident that an attempt is to be made upon my life tonight, and by the same means that proved so successful in the case of poor Sir Crichton." His square jaw grew truculently prominent, and he leapt stormily to his feet, shaking his clenched fist towards the window. "The villain!" he cried. "The fiendishly clever villain!" I suspected that Sir Crichton was next, and I was right. But I came too late, Petrie. That hits me hard, old man, to think that I knew and yet failed to save him. He resumed his seat, smoking hard. "Fu Manchu has made the blunder common to all men of unusual genius," he said. "He has underrated his adversary. He has not given me credit for perceiving the meaning of the scented messages. He has thrown away one powerful weapon to get such a message into my hands, and he thinks that, once safe within doors, I shall sleep unsuspecting and die as Sir Crichton died. But without the indiscretion of your charming friend, I should have known what to expect when I receive information, which, by the way, consists of a blank sheet of paper." "Smith," I broke in, "who is she?" "She's either Fu Manchu's daughter, his wife, or his slave. I am inclined to believe the last, for she has no will but his will except, with a quizzical glance in a certain instance. How can you jest with some awful thing? Heaven knows what hanging over your head. What is the meaning of these perfumed envelopes? How did Sir Crichton die?" "He died of the Zayat kiss. Ask me what that is, and I reply, I do not know. The Zayats are the Burmese caranthesiras, or rest houses, along a certain route upon which I set eyes for the first and only time upon Dr. Fu Manchu. Travellers who use them sometimes die, as Sir Crichton died, with nothing to show the cause of death, but a little mark upon the neck, face, or limb, which has earned in those parts the title of the Zayat Kiss. The rest houses along that route are shunned now. I have my theory, and I hope to prove it tonight, if I live. It will be one more broken weapon in his fiendish armoury, and it is thus, and thus only, that I can hope to crush him. This was my principal reason for not enlightening Dr. Cleeve. Even walls have ears where Fu Manchu is concerned. So I feigned ignorance of the meaning of the mark, knowing that he would be almost certain to employ the same methods upon some other victim. I wanted an opportunity to study the Zayat Kiss in operation, and I shall have one. But the scented envelopes. In the swampy forests of the district I have referred to, a rare species of orchid, almost green, and with a peculiar scent, is sometimes met with. I recognize the heavy perfume at once. I take it that the thing which kills the traveller is attracted by this orchid. You will notice that the perfume clings to whatever it touches. I doubt if it can be washed off in the ordinary way. After at least one unsuccessful attempt to kill Sir Crichton, you recall that he thought there was something concealed in his study on a previous occasion. Fu Manchu hit upon the perfumed envelopes. He may have a supply of these green orchids in his possession, possibly to feed the creature. What creature? How could any kind of creature have got into Crichton's room tonight? You no doubt observed that I examined the grate of the study. I found a fair quantity of fallen soot. I at once assumed, since it appeared to be the only means of entrance, that something has been dropped down. And I took it for granted that the thing, whatever it was, must still be concealed either in the study or in the library. But when I had obtained the evidence of the groom, Wills, I perceived that the cry from the lane or from the park was a signal. I noted that the movements of anyone seated at the study table were visible, in shadow, on the blind, and that the study occupied the corner of a two-storied wing, and therefore had a short chimney. What did the signal mean? That Sir Crichton had leaped up from his chair and either had received the Zayat Kiss or had seen the thing which someone on the roof had lowered down the straight chimney. It was a signal to withdraw that deadly thing. By means of the iron stairway at the rear of Major General Platt's Houstons, I quite easily gained access to the roof above Sir Crichton's study. And I found this. Out from his pocket, Nayland Smith drew a tangled piece of silk, mixed up with which were a brass ring and a number of unusually large-sized split shot, nipped on in the manner usual on a fishing line. My theory proven, he resumed. Not anticipating a search on the roof, they had been careless. This was to weight the line and to prevent the creature clinging to the walls of the chimney. Directly it had dropped in the grate. However, by means of this ring, I assume that the weighted line was withdrawn, and the thing was only held by one slender thread, which sufficed, though, to draw it back again when it had done its work. It might have got tangled, of course, but they reckoned on its making straight up the carved leg of the writing table for the prepared envelope. From there to the hand of Sir Crichton, which, from having touched the envelope, would also be scented with a perfume, was a certain move. My God, how horrible, I exclaimed, and glanced apprehensively into the dusky shadows of the room. What is your theory respecting this creature? I mean, what shape? What colour? It is something that moves rapidly and silently. I will venture no more at present, but I think it works in the dark. The study was dark, remember, save for the bright patch beneath the reading lamp. I have observed that the rear of this house is ivy-cornered, right up to and above your bedroom. Let us make ostentatious preparations to retire. And I think we may rely upon Fu Manchu's servants to attempt my removal, at any rate. If not, yours. But, my dear fellow, it is a climb of 35 feet at the very least. You remember the cry in the back lane. It suggested something to me, and I tested my idea successfully. It was the cry of a dacoit. Oh, dacoity, though quiescent, is by no means extinct. Fu Manchu has dacoits in his train, and probably it is one who operates the Zayat Kif, since it was a dacoit who watched the window of the study this evening. To such a man, an ivy-coloured wall is a grand staircase. The horrible events that followed are punctuated in my mind by the striking of a distant clock. It is singular how trivialities thus assert themselves in moments of high tension. I will proceed, then, by these punctuations to the coming of the horror that it was written we should encounter. The clock across the common struck 2. Having removed all traces of the scent of the orchard from our hands with a solution of ammonius, Smith and I had followed the programme laid down. It was an easy matter to reach the rear of the house by simply climbing the fence. And we did not doubt that seeing the light go out in the front, our unseen watcher would proceed to the back. The room was a large one, and we had made up my camp bed at one end, stuffing odds and ends under the clothes to lend the appearance of a sleeper, which device we also had adopted in the case of the larger bed. The perfumed envelope lay upon a little coffee table in the centre of the floor, and Smith, with an electric pocket lamp, a revolver, and a brassy bedside himself, sat on cushions in the shadow of the wardrobe. I occupied a post between the windows. No unusual sound, so far, had disturbed the stillness of the night. save for the muffled throb of the rare all-night cars passing the front of the house. Our vigil had been a silent one. The full moon had painted about the floor weird shadows of the clustering ivy, spreading the design gradually from the door, across the room, past the little table where the envelope lay, and finally to the foot of the bed. The distant clock struck 2:15. A slight breeze stirred the ivy, and a new shadow added itself to the extreme edge of the moon's design. Something rose inch by inch above the sill of the westerly window. I could see only shadow, but a sharp, sibilant breath from Smith told me that he, from his post, could see the cause of the shadow. Every nerve in my body seemed to be strung tensely. I was icy cold, expectant, and prepared for whatever horror was upon me. The shadow became stationary. The dacoit was studying the interior of the room. Then it suddenly lengthened, and craning my head to the left, I saw a lithe, black-clad form, surmounted by a yellow face, sketchy in the moonlight, pressed against the window panes. One thin brown hand appeared over the edge of the lowered sash, which it grasped, and then another. The man made absolutely no sound whatever. The second hand disappeared and reappeared. It held a small square box. There was a very faint click. The dacoit swung himself below the window with the agility of an ape, as with a dull, muffled thud, something dropped upon the carpet. "Stand still for your life," came Smith's voice, high-pitched. A beam of white leaped out across the room and played full upon the coffee table in the centre. Prepared as I was for something horrible, I know that I paled at sight of the thing that was running round the edge of the envelope. It was an insect, full 6 inches long, and of a vivid, venomous red colour. It had something of the appearance of a great ant, with its long, quivering antennae and its febrile, horrible vitality, but it was proportionately longer of body and smaller of head, and had numberless, rapidly moving legs. In short, it was a giant centipede, apparently of the Scolpendra group, but of a form quite new to me. These things I realized in one breathless instant. In the next, Smith had dashed the thing's poisonous life out with one straight true blow of the golf club. I leaped to the window and threw it widely open, feeling a silk thread brush my hand as I did so. A black shape was dropping with incredible agility from branch to branch of the ivy, and without once offering a mark for a revolver shot, it merged into the shadows beneath the tree of the garden. As I turned and switched on the light, Nayland Smith dropped limply into a chair, leaning his head upon my hands. Even that grim courage had been tired sorely. "Never mind the dacoit, Petrie," he said. "Nemesis will know where to find him. We know now what causes the mark of the Zayat kiss. Therefore science is richer for our first brush with the enemy, and the enemy is poorer, unless he has any more unclassified centipedes. I understand now something that has been puzzling me since I heard of it. Sir Crichton's stifled cry. When we remember that he was almost part speech, it is reasonable to suppose that his cry was not the red hand, but the red ant. Petrie, to think that I failed by less than an hour to save him from such an end. Join me, Morale Bernard. Join me for the next video of Dr. Fu Manchu. Look forward to seeing you there. Look out for the next video of Dr. Fu Manchu coming soon.